Hello everyone, my name is Lowko and welcome to a new video of StarCraft II Heart of the Swarm. Today we're gonna be talking about Zerg. Oh my god, what a surprise. I know, I've been talking about Zerg for a good long time right now. Well, today we're gonna be talking about more specifically Zerg versus Protoss and then why solid build orders are important. Now, as you might have already noticed from the title of this video, my opponent is gonna go for a really weird thing. He's gonna go for a Colossus drop in a speed war prism, okay? I can spoil that already because as you might have noticed, we are watching this game completely through my vision, and we're gonna be talking about the things that I was thinking about while playing this game, so hopefully you will get a little bit of a thought inside of my head. Now, as you might have noticed, I sped up the game for about the first 1.5 minutes because really nothing happens, and I'm gonna be opening up with a spawning pool into a hatchery, something really normal. Now, there's a lot of people that are just playing this game, and as you can see, I'm actually a little bit hesitant because I got cannon rushed and gateway rushed a few times, so I'm just double checking everything with drones. But anyway, like, a lot of people have been asking me, like, how do you stop random pushes? Because, you know, whenever you're aware of like a standard 2-base timing push, such as an Immortal Sentry Alone, you can specifically prepare for that, and you can sort of just counter it by scouting properly and just knowing what you're supposed to do. Now, that is only true whenever your opponent is going for something that is really standard. Let's say your opponent is going for something silly, like we're gonna see in this game. Obviously, that's going to be a little bit more tricky, because if you don't know exactly what your opponent is going for, and you're a little bit confused as for what you're scouting, like I will be in this game, how do you go from there? Because if you make a mistake, you can just straight up die. Now, there are a few ground rules, I guess, that you can always try and keep. So, hopefully we will be able to lay those down in this video, and hopefully you will be able to, you know, figure that a little bit out. Now, as you might have seen right there, I noticed my opponent went for an early Nexus. He's going for the gateway at the front, a Forge already at the front. He's gonna put more pylons down, he's gonna build a cannon and a Nexus and all that kind of jazz. So I decided to go for my standard third hatch timing, a little bit before the 4-minute mark, actually, a little tiny bit later than I would normally take it, but it's really, you know, it's no big deal whatsoever. So I'm just using my Zerglings. It's actually already one of the most important things to do with your first Zerglings, is to just simply scout around with them. I know this is really APM intensive, and obviously it cannot cut back in your drone production, but if you take a look at the minimap right now, you can see my Zerglings running around, and you can actually notice, okay, I have full vision of anything that might be happening. So if my opponent wanted to go for something like a cannon rush at my third, I will most likely be aware of this. Now, I'm still running them around, and I saw a little glimpse right there on the minimap, and I know, okay, the probe is heading to my third base right now, and I need to catch that one, so I'm sending my Zerglings back home. There we go, there we see the probe. So, I actually have 2 queens out right now. I'm gonna start my third queen, I'm gonna lay a croup tumor in my natural and walk it to the third base. Really standard play right there. If you're not familiar with this build, you know, check out the other videos because I made plenty of those. But basically, what I'm gonna try and do is get a big economy up, start my gases around the 6-minute mark, and just play from there. Now, my opponent is getting a little bit tricky, so I am a little bit confused by that. I'm actually sending out the first Zealot, so I'm forced to respond by going for a bunch of things myself, such as a few Zerglings and whatnot, and I'm gonna be flying in my Overlord right now. So what I noticed, okay, 6 minutes is when my opponent takes a double gas. Now, that is pretty early. Normally, Protoss players will take them around 6:30 or maybe 6:20 or so, but my opponent already took him at the 6-minute mark. So, this basically makes sure for me that I know for a fact he's not gonna go for any kind of gateway aggression, okay? It is just not possible for a Protoss player to take 6-minute double gas in the natural and then still afford the minerals to do a big gateway push. So this instantly allows me to go for a really greedy lair play into like double upgrades, whatever I want, because my opponent is not gonna do anything fancy. So let's think a little bit about the possibility that he's going for. I know I will be free to drone up for the time being, and I know I'm gonna be droning up until about 3 bases, but what can my opponent go for in this situation? Well, let's think about it. What does he need all this gas for? It could be either something like an Immortal Sentry all-in, it could be something like a double Stargate or a single Stargate with Void Base, it could be something like even a quick Colossus, and apparently my opponent is also gonna do this tricky thing, like we can already see on the production tab right now. My opponent is gonna go for a Colossus into a War Prism. Now, how do you respond to a gateway, how do you respond to a Stargate aggression? Usually you will do so by going for Hydralisk and for Roaches. How do you respond to something like an Immortal Sentry all-in? Well, nowadays you also respond to that by going for Hydras and for Roaches and for Zerglings. So basically what I'm doing right now is preparing for everything by going for the same thing, if that makes any sense whatsoever. I'm gonna make spore scrollers in my main bases, even though I don't really know what is going on. Just gonna make those blindly, because I know I have 3 bases mining and my opponent only has 2, which just straight up means that I will have a bigger income, and that means I can make a bigger army the longer time goes on. So I'm gonna start my hire list then right as soon as my lair finished, and I'm just gonna make sure I have full saturation. Now, it is crucial for me to notice when my opponent is gonna go for a 3rd base. So if you take a look at the minimap right now, in the bottom left corner you can actually see I have a Zergling on his 3rd base. And I know for a fact there won't really be anything cheeky going on whatsoever, because I need to be scouting that all the damn time. Now, the standard 3rd base timing, the latest that they will usually take it nowadays, is around the 9.5 minute mark. And as you can see, we are at the 9.5 minute mark right now, and he actually took down my Zerglings that were spotting his 3rd base. So I need to get a scout back on that. Now, my Zergling speed is done. I am producing only units since I know I have bigger income than my opponent. If you take a look at the income tab, I actually have 70 harvesters nearly versus 50 nearly. So the longer time goes on, I will be able to create a bigger army. And I'm scouting once more at his 3rd base, and I notice, okay, he's not gonna take this one just yet, so he's probably going for something tricky. So I've been only producing units right now. This will defend versus anything like a... you know, like a drop right there. It will also defend versus anything like a Immortal Sentry push versus Stargate. It will work fine, but also I'm like, what? He's going for a Colossus drop? Now, as you can see, even though this is a really weird strategy, I have plenty of units to just deal with this. He's gonna try and micro this the best I can, but I already have a bigger income. I know there's no 3rd base, and he actually sacrificed all kinds of tech to get this up. So as long as I just make sure that I will be able to clean this up without like taking a mineral line of drone losses, I should be good to go. So I'm just gonna keep producing all the units, gonna keep on going with this. And I know that at this point, I have countered any build that he could have been going for, except for maybe... No, actually, what would I not have defended right here? What build that my opponent could be going for right here would I have not defended? Maybe like a super aggressive, quick 4 immortal play or whatever, but I think I should have been fine with that as well. So I just went for a safe Roach Hydra play that was gonna keep me safe versus everything. And now I realize, okay, my opponent is gonna most likely try and expand behind this. I'm gonna go for a little bit of aggression. So I am moving out across the map right now. I am getting my Spire up as well. The Spire is obviously there to deal with any kind of Colossus that he will have on the map soon. And this is just so weird. I've never seen something like this, honestly. Just target firing the War Prism should be plenty. But I'm still moving around with all these units across the map. Now the Spire, I'm gonna make about 5 or so Hydras, or 5 or so of them, which should be good. And I'm gonna first do a little bit of aggression right here. So I'm using the few units to go from the top right here, going to use those to micro back bait any kind of force fields. And I'm gonna use a small part of my army to target fire down the Nexus. Actually target firing that down already, and just making sure that while he's doing all this aggression, he's not able, or while I'm doing all this aggression, he is not able to drop. So I'm sacrificing a few units right here for the greater good to actually make sure that I will be able to take out the 3rd base, so I will be able to take this economy lead for a longer time. I'm just gonna try and do as much damage as I can. Now I do manage to get one War Prism shot right there, which actually does manage to kill it, and I also managed to kill the other one, which is a big deal right now. So I'm just gonna try and do whatever aggression I can. Now I might be able to clean this up right now, don't really need to risk it, as I have my 4th base up already, going to start the gases right there, and I'm just gonna, you know, not really risk it. I should actually be returning home right now, because I won't be able to break this. Looks like I'm actually gonna try and target fire the forts down, which is a pretty good thing, I guess. So not the biggest of deals. Now yeah, my Spire is done right now. I will be able to start producing the corruptors that I need to deal with all these units, and I will also be able to just start the gases in my 4th base to get the gas income that I need. So I'm gonna start another macro hatchery, should start transitioning into a hive shortly as well, and as you can see on the production tab, I'm just making non-stop units. I only do this because I know I have a bigger economy than my opponent. If you take a look at income once more, I just have a lot more stuff than my opponent. There's absolutely zero reason for me right now to stop making units and go back into drones. I might make a few just to make up for the drones that are in gas on the 4th base, but honestly, I should just be making units knowing that I have a bigger eco, knowing that the more units I make, the less my opponent will be having, just by the sheer amount of income that I have. So I'm going to be starting a few corruptors. Like I said, I'm going to replace the drones that are taken in gas on my 4th base, and I'm going to start more and more stuff. The first corruptors are in production right now as well. I'm going to put those on a separate hotkey of 2, as you can see at the bottom of the screen, and I'm just going to use those to target fire down the Colossus. Once this army is out of Colossus, there will be absolutely zero that my opponent can do. Now I did give my opponent a little bit of space once more, so he's likely to expand once again to the 4th base, and for whatever reason, or for the 3rd base rather, but for whatever reason I had a bunch of army right there. But I'm once again just waiting for my Corruptors. They should be here, there we go, and there we see the Corruptors. I'm just gonna try and figure out exactly where his army is located. No need for me to run into force fields and Colossus though, that seems like a bad thing, but as long as I am just playing this safe and not really risking it, I should be good to go. Going to produce a few more Void Rays, or a few more Corruptors rather, and just waiting for all my upgrades to finish up. Going to use my units that I have to just deal with all this stuff that he has, and just making sure that I max out. Now I am maxed out right now. Going to split up my army to make sure that nothing cheeky is going on. And I'm gonna make sure also with the Corruptors that I have to pick up any kind of stray dropship that might be over there. I'm actually having one hero Hydralisk right here that manages to pick up the War Prism that had the Colossus in it, so that's kind of a big deal. And I'm going to start transitioning into Hive. Now honestly, the Hive transition is a little bit late, but I guess that's not really the point of this video. So what I'm gonna do is just try and finish the game right now. I do not want my opponent to max out on his own units, because he's a Protoss player and Protoss units are known to not die. You don't really want to be doing that. So I'm just gonna use still high ground right here to pick off whatever units I can and just target fire those Colossus down. So I'm gonna be moving up from a few different angles, using the corruptibility from my Corruptors on top of all these Colossus, gonna target fire them down as soon as I can, and basically once those are down, there's absolutely zero that my opponent can do, and he does decide to GG. So I want to thank you guys all for watching. Hopefully this taught you a little bit of how to deal with weird strategies from your opponent, and I'll see you in the next video. All my queens. Queens actually beat Stalkers one-on-one, which is quite a big deal as well. And it does look like I will just have a sheer amount of stuff that he can't deal with. I managed to deny his economy in the main base for the longest time,